And would you look at that beautiful bird? If you have not tuned into the YouTube channel or the Facebook streams, you're missing out. Yeah, check out 216thenet.com on YouTube. Well, 216thenet on YouTube and on Facebook, and My LoSo Lifestyle on Facebook as well. You can see an amazing bird, because today, Living Low Sodium with Mary Schepp is all about turkey time. Good morning, Mary. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing good. I got a few comments about that beautiful bird up there. Now, that bird specifically is from Hephzibah Farms up north, by the Wisconsin border.
Yeah.
Like Hebron area. And it's funny because I forgot I had that picture. So there was a lot of people sending me messages going, well, that's an interesting bird you got there. Or she's not so ladylike, was a couple that that I had received. That's not the most ladylike bird. Which,
well, are they? Was it a hen or was it a?
I'm not entirely sure. I tell Anita that I need a bird, and she, I'm going tomorrow to pick up my turkeys. I'm not entirely sure if I think they're females.
Okay.
Usually. I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're almost always females. But, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the show a few minutes here, that is a spatchcocked turkey. So that's why it looks like that. I didn't do that on purpose. So it just kind of worked out that way.
Looks tasty.
Well, it really is. And it's one of the best ways to cook a bird, in all honesty.
Yeah. So,
that being said, if you haven't noticed, today we're talking turkey because we've got one more Saturday. So we got one more weekend before Thanksgiving.
That's it.
I still think it's March of 2020.
No, what are you doing?
I don't know.
This is the end of 2021.
I know. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what I'm doing. I am so brain dead, and things have been going.
Oh, look, Ted bestowed knighthood upon you.
Oh,
that's a thing that he came up with on Uncle Pete in the Morning. Knight of the radio table. Knights of the radio table. So you are now officially knighted. Yeah, knightess. I don't know. So,
yeah, this is the time of year that I get more messages than any other time about how, what to do, how to eat low sodium, how to cook turkey, how to make gravy, how to make this, how to make that, how to make this. How do you navigate going out to, friends for their Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, all of the holidays, not just Christian holidays. This season is just packed with every kind of holiday you can possibly think of.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just low sodium people that need to navigate those holiday feasts. More and more people are realizing that I think everybody is on some kind of restriction or another. Carb restrictions, gluten-free restrictions, allergy restrictions, or just the fact that they want to stay healthy and not overeat, or, whatever. It's their day to indulge.
Mm-hmm.
That being said,
both having coffee, I know, right? There. Yeah, radio silence from
radio silence. Yeah. It's coffee silence. It's allowed on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, Thanksgiving is the day of gluttony. It's the day that you have the most. I think that can contend with football Sundays, though, because I know a lot of people who really get into football, and every Sunday is a smorgasbord.
Smorgasbord?
Say that 10 times fast.
Smorgasbord?
Smorgasbord.
That's actually not too bad. Smorgasbord.
But obviously Thanksgiving, you've got, turkey and gravy and ham and casseroles and appetizers and breads and cakes. Is there anything on your Thanksgiving table that you would say is odd that you don't see on other people's Thanksgiving tables?
Probably not. Well, depends. Sometimes at my in-laws, there's some lasagna there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I would find that odd on Thanksgiving Day. Even for Italian people, that would seem...
They're very Italian.
Huh.
They're like extremely Italian.
Well, I
But
mean, I guess if you are, why not?
but I mean that's for the people that really don't dig the turkey, and there are a few of them. So my wife doesn't. She doesn't dig the turkey.
You know, I've actually found in recent years that there's a lot of people that don't like turkey. They don't like cranberry, and I think that from my experience, turkey lasagna. Yeah, well, no, I'm not a big fan of ground turkey. I'm just not. Although a few of the farms are starting to, including Hefzibah farms, are going down the path of seeing if they can do turkey bits and ground turkey and all that kind of stuff instead of just Thanksgiving turkeys.
Yeah.
So I might try that, because the problem with grocery store poultry or beef or anything is the taste is completely different. I can't eat. I don't know. We had chicken the other night that I bought from the grocery store because it was easier, because the one I had was all I have left are full frozen birds.
Oh.
Which in a last minute pinch is hard to chop up and serve for dinner. That needs to be a little bit more planned. And again, it reminds me that the taste is just gross. But it's hard enough to watch your numbers on a normal day with any diet restriction, let alone on a day of feasting. Especially if you're eating at someone else's house who doesn't understand your restrictions. Because a lot of people think they do, and it doesn't mean, not using ground turkey. Oh, well.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go for that either. I don't know. First of all, I'm not really much on lasagna myself.
I think lasagna is like pizza. I think everybody's got a preference on it, and if it's anything but what they like, it's not good.
Yeah, I don't.
I love lasagna. We had it the other day.
Oh, yeah.
I make 2 trays of it. One goes in the freezer, so it makes an easy late night dinner. But the biggest problem right off the bat with watching your numbers is Thanksgiving is always, turkey. And like you said, some places sometimes you have lasagna or something odd. Some people do prime rib, different things like that. The difficulty is Italian and turkey on Thanksgiving was a side dish. Huh. Who knew?
It's been that way at my in-laws. For the people that want the turkey, it's been kind of
an afterthought.
Like,
we'll do it because you guys do, but it's a day of feasting.
Yeah. So.
Or turkey sausage would be. I do like turkey sausage.
So that might not be too bad.
The problem with most turkeys, whole turkeys, or any poultry for that matter at a grocery store, is it's brined. So right out the gate. So brining, for those of you that don't know, is the process of submerging a cut meat into a solution of salt water. It adds flavor, seasoning to the outside, but it also changes the meat's physical nature. The actual protein structure inside the meat changes. Salt brine denatures the meat proteins to allow cells to retain more moisture. So poultry and pork, it helps extend the shelf life of them, and B, it makes them easier to cook. So the inexperienced cook can cook brined pork or poultry and still have it come out juicy and flavorful because it's already pre-seasoned. It's salted from the inside out. And the only time you're going to get a marinade of any kind or any seasoning to get further than about a 1/4 inch into a piece of meat is with a brine.
Yeah.
You can season anything and you can soak a piece of meat for as long as you want. Not fish. I'm not counting fish because fish is different. But pork, beef, or chicken or poultry, you can soak it as long as you want. It's still only going to penetrate that outer layer. If you brine something, the nature of salt and the process of osmosis, it actually does, because it denatures the actual protein structure of the meat, it actually gets further into the bird, especially when you have something like poultry where it's got a cavity inside of it. It's not just a hunk of beef roast.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a brined bird versus an unbrined bird, and this is all poultry or pork for that matter, most protein, pork, beef, chicken, or otherwise, is anywhere from like 65 to 75 milligrams of sodium per 4-ounce serving. Now that varies. Sometimes it's a little bit lower if it's a light meat versus dark meat and all that kind of stuff, and where the cut is on the animal and how much fat's in it and all this other stuff. But on average, it's around that 65, 75 milligram range, which is very doable for anybody on a low sodium or heart healthy diet. Once it's brined, that pork or chicken or turkey goes to 200 to 475 milligrams per serving. Now, when you're talking hams or corned beef or things like that get brined, you're upwards in 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams per serving. This is why I hate corned beef is my ultimate all-time favorite. Corned beef and cabbage, boiled Irish dinner is my jam. That is I'd eat it once a week if I could. But I have to make my own corned beef, which is a multi-day long drawn out process. It can be done. It can be done low sodium. Rest his soul, Mitch Sheehan had actually came up with a way that is absolutely fantastic for anybody to do. I can post the recipe for that later. But it's a process. It's not something you can decide like, hey, I'm going to do this for tonight for dinner and I'm going to marinate it for 2 hours. It doesn't work that way. So the ham, I usually just avoid outright.
Really?
Even when you get low sodium, like lunch meat ham or no salt added ham, cured ham, if you're lucky, it'll get down to 350 milligrams per serving. And a serving for lunch meat is like 3 to 5 slices. Yeah. So for those of us like me that eat like a half-pound sandwich, it just doesn't, like, you're not going to Katzka's Deli in New York and getting a sandwich that's going to be low sodium anything. No. So when you're talking turkey, I mean, this is the day of gluttony. You're not going to have a 4 ounce, you're not going to have a proper serving size. You might, but most people don't. You go back for seconds or thirds or whatever. So you're going to blow your entire day just on the turkey, let alone if you add gravy or mashed potatoes or anything else to it. So starting with an unbrined bird is the only way you're going to have any hope of staying down below those numbers. Because just that simple salt solution is going to add. And that's not counting the fact if you season it on top of it. So you can find low sodium or no salt added poultry in the stores. Chicken has become more and more popular to be low sodium, especially now with the FDA coming down with guidance saying that they're suggesting that all processed foods be a little bit lower. Again, we just did a show on that a couple weeks ago. It's a recommendation. It's not a ruling. Yeah. But turkey is almost 100%. It's like 99% of the turkeys that you find in a grocery store are brined. Man. All natural, organic, doesn't matter what that package says. When there's somewhere that we find the Shaking the Salt low sodium group that I'm in, that I help admin, well, not as much lately, but when somebody finds a store that has them and they post like, oh, I saw fresh ones at Fresh Time or Mariano's or Jewel or Publix or wherever they're at, it goes viral and they're gone in a day. Wow. So it's usually one brand that you find and they don't buy a lot of them because people see low sodium and they go next. So it's not quite the same. Yeah, just make it. So when it comes to ham, if you buy pork fresh from the farm and you get that shoulder, like I took that butchering class. Yeah. We threw that in the oven and didn't do nothing to it. Onions, garlic, and some stock just to keep it the moisture up in the oven. And it tasted like ham. Wow. Add some sun-dried tomatoes and get that smoky flavor.
That's what ham is.
Right. It's pig. Just normally it's salted and aged. Yeah. So it was absolutely fantastic and it didn't have a lick of salt in it. But in order to get pork or pork is almost impossible to find at the grocery store unbrined. I stopped buying it from the grocery store years ago because of that reason. Turkey, at least you can find it occasionally, but the same thing, I would find it once in a blue moon. And usually you can tell that it's been in the freezer for a long period of time. It's freezer burned. And I end up buying it from the farm. So I get mine from the farm, and I have for a while. So I'm completely aware of the fact that at the grocery store you pay about $1.25 per pound for turkey for a whole
Really?
bird. It's about 25.
Wow, I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah, when it gets really close to Thanksgiving and the grocery stores are going, okay, we got too many birds, we got to get rid of them, they'll drop it down to 99 cents a pound. And then the day of Thanksgiving, or once the day starts to get long, and especially the day after, they'll drop it down to 49 cents a pound. Much like tomatoes, those things do not get picked and sent to the grocery store next day. The processing and the time frame in which it takes to get them from the farm to your table is lengthy. So when they say fresh, they are not. The birds that I get from my farm were processed a couple weeks ago.
Oh wow, okay.
So they were roaming around our farmlands here not too long ago, living a nice, good life. And they were processed humanely. They were treated well. They were no hormones, no antibiotics, no other than what's necessary to give them a healthy life. So I find that funny when people are like, no antibiotics. Well, nothing that isn't necessary to keep them alive.
Well, yeah.
Like nothing to increase their hormones or all this other crap. So I get it. I get that there's a large portion of people who the only way they're going to have Thanksgiving is if they go and buy the bird at the cheapest they can possibly buy it to even have a turkey dinner. Not everybody can have that luxury to buy birds from the farm, because there is a difference. When you buy, so at the grocery store, if you get an unbrined bird, they typically go up to $2.50 a pound to $5 a pound, depending on what it is. Because it's an unbrined bird, they don't keep as long, and they don't sell as fast, and they make less of them, so they're more expensive. If you get it from a farm, you're typically looking on the very, very, very low end. I found them as cheap as $4 a pound, but that's not anywhere around here. Usually it's a little bit more rural in southern Illinois or southern states or anywhere like that.
Damn.
All the way up to $7 a pound.
Wow.
I pay $6 a pound for my birds, and they're fabulous, and I'm happy to do so. So here's the messed up thing. People will very commonly splurge for Christmas to buy lamb or prime rib well over $6 a pound for that holiday.
Yeah.
But somehow turkey and poultry is supposed to be like this poor man's meat. And they're really expensive to raise and clean and keep healthy. And yes, you can raise mass quantities of them in a tunnel somewhere with no lights. And that's what, the big guys do. But it shows in the quality of the meat.
Yeah.
So we were just discussing here a few minutes ago about how we're going to have our Thanksgiving show again in the first weekend of December. So that's in the plans, and I have a turkey for that.
Oh, wow.
So we will all have farm fresh turkey for our show.
Woohoo.
So,
yeah.
Assuming I remember that I have it, because I forgot that I had even told Anita that I wanted 2 turkeys. So when I messaged her today, she says, well, minus your deposit. And I'm like, wait a minute, I gave you a deposit? I didn't know that.
Well, now you do, and you were thinking ahead. So there you go.
Dude, I'm telling you, I don't know where I'm at these days.
Well, there's so much going on all over the place.
Between work and chambers and now Rotary and
I saw that. Congratulations!
Yes,
You're
thank
now
you.
official Rotarian.
I'm officially a Rotarian. My husband asked me if that was the old people's club. No offense to my Rotary friends or members, but you do. So many people think of it as something that you do, and it is time consuming. So that's why a lot of people who do it are retired. But I love my Rotarian group. It's a lot of fun. And now on top of that, I also run the Cary Grove Farmers Market in the winter.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Yeah. Wow. You do an awful lot. And the Rotarians, when you say I'm a Rotarian, it always makes me think of the Ghostbusters thing with Gozer of the Gozerian.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I wonder if they'll let me rename them the Gozerians.
You're a Rotarian. You're a rotor. Rotor of the Rotarians.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
It just makes me think of Gozer and the Gozerians.
When
someone asks you you're a god, you say yes.
Did you see the new commercials for the Ghostbusters movie with Paul Rudd?
No, I haven't yet.
They're called Puffs, 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 like marshmallow puffs.
Okay.
The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?
Yeah.
But they're little.
Little?
And
So
they wreak havoc.
The little...
So, like, he discovers one, and he's like, oh, how cute, and it bites his finger.
Huh.
One gets blended up, and then you see the face, like, smiling on the blender. Like, they're little evil miniature marshmallow ghost things. Huh. I'm going to watch it purely for that.
That's cool.
Right. I'm going to rival Baby Yoda.
That'll be the next hot thing then. Is
right.
Be little bitty
Puffs.
Marshmallow Stay Puffs.
Yeah. So. And for better quality, if you have available to farm fresh, yes. Anything fresh from the farm, just... My husband, we're so spoiled now. I'm actually researching generators because I want a generator specifically just to run my freezer because I have probably a year's worth of meat in my freezer.
Wow.
We get our beef from Wanda Farm. We get our turkeys from Hefzibah. I get most of my poultry from Homestead Farm. All my honey and tea comes from Annabelle's Bees. I'm trying to think of who else. I get my bison from Buffalo Bob. It's bison meat. So I have a freezer full, literally full. I think I have like 200 pounds of cow.
Where's Buffalo Bob's bison? Because I can actually eat bison. I can't eat it in quantity, but I can actually eat.
So he himself lives in Wakanda.
Does he? Okay.
His cattle is up in Wisconsin. I think I want to say in the Appleton area, but I could be wrong. But he lives here. He has for decades. He's been a part of this community. So, but yeah, no, my husband actually asked me, where am I because I'm picking up our turkeys tomorrow. I said, where the hell are you going to put them? Because both my refrigerator and my freezer are full.
Why?
I'll find room.
You're going to have to if you're getting them tomorrow and it's not for another week and a half away.
Well, I mean...
2 weeks, really.
It does take like 4 days to thaw a bird.
Yeah.
So...
Are they frozen now?
Yeah, and that's what's funny. The common misconception when people are like, when they post all the time that I want a fresh bird, I don't want a frozen bird, I don't want a frozen bird. Almost always, they're processed and frozen.
Okay.
That
makes sense because you can't just leave meat out.
Right, because if you process it and put it in the fridge, there's a very finite amount of time. I don't know if you've ever put chicken in your refrigerator and forgot that you were going to make chicken for dinner last night. And then 3 days go by and now you can't leave chicken or pork or poultry. You can't leave any protein in the fridge for a long period of time and have it stay fresh. So when they talk fresh, it's processed, frozen, and then the freshness depends on how quickly you come pick it up.
Yeah.
So mine has been sitting in a freezer for a couple weeks at her farm because I just haven't had a time to go and get it.
But it's still recently dead.
Right.
So...
It hasn't been processed 18 months ago.
Right.
And then slowly made its way to my grocery store where I could purchase it.
Yeah.
So I get it. It's more expensive. And I understand that the vast majority of people just flat out can't afford that. That's not a luxury that they can splurge on. Those are also the people who aren't splurging on prime rib dinner. So I get that there's a need for $1 a pound turkeys at the grocery store. And I'm not looking to sway everybody on the planet to go to farms. That being said, the prices at the farms have been getting better because the prices at the grocery store have been getting worse. So
that's true.
When you look at your beef prices at the store and
beef is going nuts.
Right.
Which is, Mary Catherine still likes the beef, but I can't really eat it. So, but even bison's not too bad.
No.
But it's also not near as popular.
Right.
So.
Right.
But like even just chicken is nuts right now.
It is.
It's ridiculous.
I bought bone-in thigh cuts just because that's what I like. I like the bone-in. We made just a 1-pot potato with a makeshift gravy and onions and garlic with chicken on top.
Yeah.
All of it goes in the oven, it cooks, and it's done. But that's still at the grocery store. It's still a cut that's normally, $1 a pound, if that. And it was $3.99 a pound.
Ooh.
So if you're going to pay $3.99 a pound for the crap that takes 8 million years to get here, and you can see the bruising on the meat from how it was processed.
Yeah.
I'd much rather, if I have the opportunity, to get it from the farms here, and I do. So the funny thing is the more you support the local farms, the better their prices can be. And the more that it's better food, it's better for you nutritionally. They've proven that. The species and the things that they do to highly processed foods to get the longevity that they need out of them makes them more nutritionally void.
Yeah.
So you're always better off getting stuff fresh from the farm that's seasonal and in stock. But still, I mean, I get it. So I've lived off, green beans and toast and grilled cheese sandwiches. I get it. Sometimes your luxury is not to go spend $5, $6, $7, $12, $20 a pound for steaks or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but the funny thing is, I bet you any money you find money for Starbucks or cigarettes.
Well,
if you're a smoker.
That did,
because I did
cigarettes
for decades.
Cigarettes are freaking amazingly expensive now. Now I don't smoke. I haven't since 2001.
Right.
April of 2001, I was done. But I couldn't believe how much they freaking are now. It's like, because I saw a sign with a special on it, and I'm like, oh wow, that's a cheap carton of cigarettes, and they're like, that's a pack. I'm like, are you nuts?
I ran to pick up some stuff from the grocery store a couple months back over the summer, and just texted my neighbor and was like, hey, you need anything? I'm running a Jewel real quick. And they had me pick up a carton of cigarettes for them, which I had no problem doing because they were paying me back.
Yeah.
But I did the same thing, was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's insane.
You need a second job just to be a smoker.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, wow. But you know what? When I was 20 years old and crying broke and had no money and would go eat at my sister's house because I didn't have any food in my cupboard, I would find a way to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Well, I mean, once upon a time, they were less than $1 a pack.
This is true. I put gas in my car and got cigarettes for $5.
Yeah.
Now you can't buy cigarettes for $5.
No.
Or a gallon of gas.
Nor for that matter, yeah. Almost.
Right? Damn near, depending on where you're at.
Yeah, gas is crazy now.
Yeah. So, I get it that it's a little bit more from the farm, but if you have the luxury and you can splurge, I do highly recommend it. It is absolutely amazing. And especially now that some of the farms are going to start offering cuts instead of just the whole bird, makes it available year round. And the more stuff is available year round, the better the prices are, and so on and so forth, and this, that, and the other. So, if you are looking for, like I said, I get mine from Hephzibah. But I know that Allgrass has fresh birds, and I'm pretty sure Allgrass is down 31 towards, past Crystal Lake towards the, West Dundee.
Oh, okay.
I think technically it's Algonquin. And then Paddock Farms is up north by Hebron, off of 173?
173 up there. Yeah.
But fresh from the farm, McHenry County, you can find all of the different places that offer all of the poultry, the beef, the bison, all of the odd things that you're looking for. You can get it through there. They're pretty much all of them are in there. So now, cooking turkey. I don't talk about frying birds. I've never fried a bird. I've had fried bird. I don't get the allure.
No, you don't like it?
It's not that I don't like it. I just don't understand going through the trouble of it. And probably 10 years ago, my husband and I watched the fire department show up because the house across the street from my brother-in-law's dad's, they lit their deck on fire and lost half their house.
Well, that's because generally when people lose their house or they get fires started from frying a bird, they haven't gone through the process of pre-measuring their oil for the bird dunk.
Or they put a frozen or partially frozen
bird in.
And then the chunk of ice that they missed inside the cavity goes woof.
Woof. Yeah. So, your bird has to be completely, entirely thawed, preferably completely malleable. And it's not a bad idea to spatchcock a bird if you're going to fry it.
Right.
It really isn't, because it loosens everything up. And then if you actually measure out your oil, do a pre-dunk.
And don't
so
do
that,
it on your deck.
no, do it out in the yard, in the grass.
Not a garage. The driveway, like
Driveway.
concrete,
Yeah.
pavement,
somewhere that
sand.
not going to catch fire, right? If you don't worry about your grass,
Right.
burning. But I mean, yeah, do not do it.
It just
on
seems
your
like
deck.
so much for me, especially now that my preferred method is to spatchcock a bird. And those of you giggling at the word spatchcock, you can look it up. So to spatchcock poultry is pretty common. And if you watch the Food Network, you've probably seen it before. Usually it's done with like game hens, Cornish hens, or small fryer chickens, where you cut the spine out and you spread the bird open and push down, and it actually breaks the breastbone so that it lays flat, and you can cook it on the grill. And then you don't have to debone it or cut it up or whatever until after it's done. And it cooks much, much faster. It cooks more evenly. So it's just a nice method for a small, like 3-pound or 4-pound fryer bird or the small game hens. I discovered that if you do that with a turkey, it's amazing. It cooks in half the time. It's easy to carve. It's just absolutely fabulous. So I tend to do that with my birds. My preferred, and I just posted this morning a menu that I wrote up quite a few years ago when I first went low sodium after I was diagnosed with cirrhosis. And I wrote up our entire menu.
Yeah.
So that recipe happens to be for a 16-pound bird, but the instructions carry over to any bird that you have. Because typically if you're roasting a whole bird traditionally in a pan, in an oven, with breastbone or with the backbone intact and everything, it's about 15 minutes per pound. But once you start getting bigger than a 14-pound per bird, you end up in the territory of parts of it that are not cooked and parts of it that are way overcooked.
Yeah.
So you have dry white meat and undercooked dark meat.
Yeah.
So in my personal opinion, if you're going to have a huge party of 12 or 14 or 15 people at Thanksgiving, cook multiple smaller birds.
I used to actually smoke them.
Yeah.
And
to fit in most smokers, you're not putting a 20-pound bird in there.
No, you're not. And what always worked very well for me, and it takes a long freaking time, was 150 degrees, an hour per pound plus 1 hour.
Right.
So if you got a 14-pound bird, it's going to take you 15 hours.
It's an overnight process.
It's an overnight process. You have to, get up and check the fire and make sure everything's at least once an hour. It's not it's a labor of love. You have to really, really want that smoked turkey. And I loved it. I love smoked turkey. I really do. And they always turned out fan-freaking-tastic. I just love them. But I haven't done one in a while because it takes, all night freaking long.
Yep. And it's, I love to cook. It's my happy place. It really is. But even I have a threshold. So that's my problem, is I don't have 2, 3, 4 days to commit to one dish. So that's why I tend not to do like the corned beef brining process or smoked. And plus we haven't invested in a smoker. My husband loves smoked stuff. When I was younger, all too many times I had too many occasions where I had something that was over smoked, and it just kind of put me off on that flavor. So, but my method has always been oven at 450 degrees, completely and totally preheated. And once the little dinger goes off and says your oven is preheated, let it preheat for another 10 minutes. Just make sure it is well and good. And the whole thing, all of the metal inside, everything is nice and preheated, because you're going to open that door and you're going to lose most of the heat.
Yeah.
So then with a whole bird, and like I said, I put the menu on my LoSo Lifestyle Facebook page. I put, the giblets and the neck bone and all of those innards that come with a bird in the roasting pan with the vegetables and a little bit of stock so it doesn't dry out, because I make gravy out of that. Not everybody does, but if you want to, that's what you do. It goes in the oven at 450 degrees. You leave it there for 5 minutes and then turn the oven down to 350 and then roast it for 15 minutes per pound. If you spatchcock the bird, then it's about an hour to an hour and a half. Same process, 450 degrees. After 5 minutes, drop it down to 350 degrees. And when you cut that breastbone out, as you saw in the picture, I just lay it right on top of those vegetables, and no roasting rack or anything needed. Part of the reason you use a roasting rack is because the bird is not flat, and it will roll around as it cooks and as the juices distribute in the bird.
Yeah.
And you don't need it splashing stuff outside of your pan. But after about an hour, for anything bigger than a 10-pound bird, I stick a thermometer in it and use that to gauge how much longer I need to cook it. Usually it ends up being, we tend to do a 12-pound bird, and it takes about an hour and 20 to an hour and 30 minutes when it's spatchcocked. So instead of 3 hours to cook a 12-pound bird, it takes half that time. It's easier to cut. The backbone's already out of it. It's not rolling all over the place. And I don't know if you've ever tried to carve a turkey when it's screaming hot and it's this big giant thing. When it's laying flat like that and you can just pull chunks out of it, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, that's actually one thing. And I don't know how it happened, but at our in-laws, I'm always handed the big old carving knife every Thanksgiving to carve the turkey.
Right.
I don't know why my father-in-law doesn't do it. I mean, I'm like, okay. And it just seems like that would be his thing to do.
His house, right?
His house, his bird, his, but here, you know how to carve a turkey? Yeah. Well, you carve it then. Okay. It's not, I mean, I learned how to do that a long, long time ago.
I'm in the same boat because I know food. So anything to do with food, it doesn't matter what it is. When I took that butcher class, and everyone's like, oh, Mary, ask Mary. She'll know how to do it. I mean, I know how to cut up a bird, and I know how to take when I was still buying from the grocery store, I would buy the big loin from Sam's Club for pork.
Oh, yeah.
And then slice it. You'd get a roast out of it and a couple chops out of it. I can use a knife, but to take a pig that's whole and break it down into its primal cuts, I've never done that before. Hence the reason I took a butchering class. So it was just interesting to me that because I do food, same thing. Everybody automatically hands me the knife and goes, you know how to do this, right?
Yeah.
No, but I'm not scared of it. So, all right, let's do this. This is what we're doing. This is how it's going. So.
As long as it tastes good once you're done.
Right. And I don't know that. I'm pretty sure we ate all of that pig. The guinea pigs. From the butcher class.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but laugh because the last farmer's market, so we have an adoption group, a nonprofit at our farmer's market.
Yeah.
And it's not puppies and kittens. It's the animals that people don't think of, like guinea pigs and birds and reptiles that people think they want and then realize they don't. So the last market, they had guinea pigs, and I was giggling the whole time because all I could think of is I just took a class on how to butcher a guinea pig. I mean, yes, it was an American guinea hog. So it's funny how any other pig is called a pig. Heifer pigs, like they're Berkshire pigs, they're all called pigs. But guinea hogs are called guinea hogs, probably because in America we don't eat guinea pig, or cuy, as it's called in Mexico.
Huh.
Go to Mexico, and cuy is apparently, they raise them like cattle.
Oh, they eat them?
Oh, God, yeah. They literally raise guinea pigs like they would raise chickens here.
Really?
And it's called
like
cuy.
The furry little pets.
Yep. The little tiny the giant rats.
And they eat them?
Yep. On a regular basis.
Huh.
They have pens of them. You can go like a fast food, like you go to a food stall or a food truck or an outdoor market and you have a taco stand. They have guinea pig pens and they process them and hang them like you would see pork.
It's so weird.
Well, go to a different country.
My wife has 2 guinea pigs at home that
now you're going to picture them as little barbecue.
They live and play with the rabbits.
Right. And rabbit also. Rabbit's also very tasty.
It is. I've actually eaten rabbit before.
I've had rabbit quite a bit. But that's the thing is, I just thought it was hilarious because especially at my store when I said, yeah, I get to take a butcher class this weekend to do guinea pig. And then I had to walk away and everybody was stymied for a few minutes going, did she just say she's butchering guinea pigs?
Boy.
It was fun for me. So when you're picking, I know a lot of times it says to get 1.5 pounds per person of turkey based on how many people you're going to serve. I tend to go with 2 pounds of bird per person because I like leftovers and because I tend to go with smaller birds. So they have less meat on them and more bone versus a bigger bird that has the same amount of bone. No, I'm good. Thank you. But more meat. So if you do take that method of going with a smaller bird or smaller birds to serve more people, I've found that 2 pounds per person is a good method to go with.
But that's like you said, that's not 2 pounds of meat.
No, God, no.
Because that would be like a lot.
Right. So if you have 10 people, you get a 20-pound bird, 2 pounds per person.
Okay, I see.
Because and that's the thing is when I do a 12-pound bird, once you figure the weight of all of the bones and the breastbones and the carcass and the legs and all of that stuff, once you take all of that out, you don't get 12 pounds of meat from a 12-pound turkey.
Right.
You get enough meat to feed. And that's if you know how to carve a turkey good enough to get all of the meat off of it. You get enough to serve about 6 people.
Oh, I can carve a turkey down to the bare bones, the literal skeleton.
Same.
Yeah.
But not everybody. When you look at it and it's still got all the stuff, it's got a whole 2 days worth of leftovers picking on that bird.
Not when I'm done with it. There's nothing left to. In fact, usually when I'm over at my in-laws, they're like, okay, well, they want a plate for leftovers for, turkey sandwiches and such. So.
Yeah, no, I do. I prefer to have a lot of leftovers. I like to make soup though. So usually like I'm buying 2 birds tomorrow so I can do one for Thanksgiving dinner. This time I'm going to do one for our Thanksgiving here in the studio because I have someone that's giving me some turkey cutlets, or turkey cuts, I should say, not cutlets. That's not the same word.
And that would be Saturday the 4th, December 4th. Yeah.
We still got to talk to inviting people.
Yeah.
A little late. I don't know. We're behind on it. I'm behind on everything.
I mean, we could stretch it out if we wanted to or needed to.
Yeah, then we end up going into Christmas, though.
Yeah, it's true, because then the next, that's Saturday the 11th would be the next one in December. That's not too deep, but yeah.
So, like I said, a 12-pound bird takes about 3 hours.
Yeah.
A 12-pound spatchcock bird takes about Jim. Gobble. A spatchcock bird takes about an hour and 15 to an hour and a half, give or take. Depends on your oven. Depends on how many times you open that stinking door to peek at the bird.
Yeah.
But I just find it's easier, and I'm not saying it's easier in the aspect of cutting the backbone out of the bird because that does take some doing. You need some really good, really sharp butcher scissors.
Yeah.
If you try and do it with a knife, unless you're skilled with a knife, you're going to cut yourself.
Yeah, it's best not to use a knife. Or if you're going to if you know how to do it, use a very large cleaver.
Right. And you need skills. Don't start hacking at things when you don't know what you're doing because you're going to lose a finger.
Yeah.
So your butcher shears or butcher scissors is the way to go. You make sure they're sharp.
And be careful with those because they are meant to cut through bone.
Yes, and they are.
They will.
They do.
Yeah.
You will lose a fingernail. I speak from experience. Thankfully, it didn't scar.
Ooh.
So I pulled some stuff from the last time I did a holiday special because you need to educate your friends and family, especially now, like we were saying, with everybody that's got, carbs and salt restrictions and gluten restrictions and allergies and all of these different things. You can't be mad at your friends or family if they don't make a vegetarian option for you when they didn't know you were a vegetarian to begin with.
Right.
You just can't. That's just stupid and it's selfish. So you need to educate people. They need to know. If you're going to someone else's house for a meal, they need to know if you have a restriction, especially if it is a bona fide legitimate allergy. If you're gluten-free because you jumped on the gluten-free train because you wanted to, because you decided through your own research on WebMD that was your problem, Chances are you're probably healthier because to eat gluten-free, you can't eat as much processed food. So you ate less processed crap, which made you healthier, which is true.
Yeah.
But if you are legitimately gluten-free because of celiac sprue, or if you are, can't eat nuts because you have an allergy, or a melon because you have an allergy, or any poultry because you have an allergy, you need to tell people that, because if you assume and then someone uses a stock or a mushroom or something, if you're allergic to garlic and they put garlic in something without you knowing, you're going to
gonna have
ruin
a
the
bad
holiday.
time, yeah, and everybody's gonna have a bad time around you.
Right. So if you assume that people know those things because you said it once 20 years ago, you need to educate your friends and family, especially if you're going to be eating at their house. And depending on your restriction, you need to not have some seriously lofty goals. Like with me being low sodium, there is no way in hell I'm going to go to your house, especially on a holiday, and expect you to cook an entire meal for me within my restriction. I'm a fairly talented cook, and I've been doing this a while now, and it's difficult for me to create. Even the holiday meal that I posted, if I want to eat everything on that list, I have to have small portions myself because there's salt in everything.
Yeah.
So when you expect people to make you an entire meal that's within your restrictions, you're going to be disappointed. And it's not fair to the person that's cooking for you either, because then they feel bad, because most people just want to do right by their guests.
Yeah.
Um,
They want you to come in, have a good time,
right.
Enjoy the food, enjoy yourself, enjoy the holiday. That's the whole point of them inviting you over, is to
Especially
have a good time.
The kind of person that invites you to have a meal at their house, like I would do, our main goal is to make you happy and feed you well.
Yeah.
And if we fail at that, it makes us feel horrible. The people who don't want to cook for you and don't give a crap what you like or don't like aren't going to invite you for a feast at their house unless they were forced to.
Which would be me.
Right. So if you think about the ingredients that people serve you, and this is where when you don't educate someone and they say, well, I didn't use table salt, or I don't add salt, then you think about what goes in a lot, like a green bean casserole. There's a large portion of people who put green beans in a bowl and they take a can of cream of mushroom soup and they put that on there. And then they might add some onions or garlic and some stock. And then they put the fried noodly things on top. And that is nothing but salt on top of salt on top of salt.
Yeah.
They technically did not add any salt.
No, but it's all in that.
Right.
Stuff.
So in their brain, they're like, oh, yeah, you can eat that. No, you can't. If you did green beans out of a can, those are salted.
Yep.
The cream of mushroom soup is heavily salted.
Heavily salted. And there's a load of that in my cabinet right now. I love cream of mushroom soup.
And it's not that it's bad. And if you can afford the luxury of having it, then good for you. Great. But if you are low sodium, heart healthy, and someone says, yeah, I didn't add any salt, you can have the casserole. And then you go home and you feel like you're having a heart attack and your feet are 10 times the size of your thigh. Well, you probably should have educated your friends and family that there's certain things that you can and cannot do.
Yeah. And buy new shoes.
Yeah, right. Or just don't wear shoes. If I could, I wouldn't wear them. Don't be afraid to ask what's in it. I've a million times, like, well, what recipe do you use? And if they tell me, like, oh, that one that's on the back of the green bean thingy. All right, well, then I know that I'm not going to say, like, okay, you suck, you need to make something else so I can eat at your house. I'm going to make a mental note and say, okay, I'm going to avoid the green bean casserole.
Yeah.
Or if they say that they make mashed potatoes this way and that way, and they, well, do you salt the water when you boil the potatoes? Well, of course, you have to. All right, well, I'm not eating your mashed potatoes because I can't. So it's just one of those things. If you ask people what recipe they use, it's an easy way without being an asshole. Because then if they just say, like, I use this recipe or Betty Crocker recipe or my mom's recipe or that recipe, it gives you a better idea of what's in it and whether or not you can actually eat it. And that kind of goes with all, like, even gluten-free. A lot of people don't realize what's gluten-free. They think that because it's not bread, it doesn't have gluten.
No.
Or carbs. Like, it's not a potato. You should be fine. There's carbs in a lot of things, and I got to be a little bit more careful than just that. I found something that isn't easy for me to do when eating at somebody else's house is to bring my own dish.
Yeah.
So if you bring something that you can eat, if it is a casserole or it is a fruit platter or a vegetable platter or a dip or something of that nature, you at least have something that you can fill up on, so you're not starving and overeating the things that you can't have. You at least have one go-to there that you know that you can have that everybody else may or may not want to eat, depending on how good you are at cooking your food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And portion control, but I mean, who really honestly watches their portions? I barely watch my portions on a good day, let alone.
I have learned to somewhat watch my portions, but mostly I stop when I'm done. Like when I'm full.
Right.
Then because I was eating last night, and I'm like, oh, I still have like a lot left. I'm not done, but I'm like, yeah, you're done, dude. You got nowhere left to put this. You're done. So a big part of all that for me is just you don't have to clear your plate. If you're done, you're done.
It's funny that you say that, because the commercials for Noom, that food app,
Yeah.
which I haven't used it, but I know a lot of people who have, and they've been really successful with it because it's based more on psychology than it is on what you're eating and how you're eating it, how much you're eating, you're shaming you. But they had mentioned that in the commercial about you don't have to finish your meal, that you've been conditioned. And it's so funny because so many generations of people were conditioned that you have to finish your plate. I get it, because that comes from a time frame when you didn't know when your next meal was going to be. So you have a full plate right now,
Yeah.
you finish it because you might not eat for 2 days. So I understand why that was instilled in so many older generations. But even myself, I don't ever remember that being forced on me as a child, but still in my brain, I feel this necessity. I've been conditioned that I need to finish my plate. So it's like, I feel like I'm doing something wrong when I leave 2 bites on my plate. Like, come on, you can do it. It's almost a challenge.
Well, and that was kind of you clean your plate.
Right.
Clean your plate. You got to clean your plate, and that doesn't mean take it over to the sink and wash it. That means
right. It better go down your gullet.
Yeah.
Well, that and plates have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. You look at plates from your childhood or your parents' childhood compared to plates that we have now, and they're huge.
Yeah.
Literally barely fit in the cabinets wall to wall because they're enormous. So the serving sizes are a little bit out of control.
Yeah, they are.
But it is what it is. Desserts, I think I saved for another show, just because I could talk about desserts for like an hour.
Yeah.
And that's always I personally love when I go to someone's Thanksgiving or any kind of meal and they do like the little finger food desserts.
Oh, yeah.
Versus a big pie, because then I can eat a bunch of different things, like the little cheesecake bites and little, puff pastries. Or, I know a lot of people don't do that, but when you're in a foodie world, you get to experience that more. But I like that we did that at our wedding, a dessert table.
Okay.
Instead of a cake. Huh. What is one thing at Thanksgiving that you will not eat?
That I will not eat.
Seems predominantly everybody always says cranberry sauce.
No, I like that. And I'm like one of the few people that do.
Are you a jam or a chunky actual jelly cranberry chutney sauce?
I am
like the canned.
I'm the canned, like the.
It's got the ribs in it.
Yeah, and then I love spreading that over a croissant.
That's really good too.
I like that. I do.
I grew up on that. I didn't know that you could make cranberry sauce any other way.
Yeah, and it's good other ways. I've had it other ways. An actual cranberry sauce where you have, like you said, it's more of a chutney kind of thing, and that is good. But I do like the stuff that comes right out the can and you spread it like a jam.
It makes the best Thanksgiving sandwiches.
Yeah, that too. Have you ever put that on a turkey sandwich?
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Turkey, some canned cranberry sauce, some stuffing.
Oh, that's good.
And I don't know how Thanksgiving
like
sandwiches aren't a year-round
croissant,
thing.
Like the great big sandwich croissants. Ooh, love that.
There was I don't remember what restaurant it was. There was a restaurant in Chicago that always had a Thanksgiving sandwich on the menu all the time.
Huh.
I used to get it for lunch every once in a while when I lived down there, and I wish I could remember the name of the place. Why places don't have that on a regular basis? I've seen it on Food Network a couple times.
Huh.
So the biggest thing that I get requests for outside of how to cook a bird is stuffing.
Oh, I love stuffing, man.
Because stuffing is one of those things that is loaded with salt.
Yeah.
The biggest reason why is the bread that you start with.
Yeah.
Because the bread is loaded with salt at anywhere from 200 to 400 milligrams per serving of bread. And if you're like me, you get like half your plate is stuffing. I don't know. I'll put stuffing. I make stuffing all the time.
My preference is a little bit of turkey, mountains of stuffing, giant serving of mashed potato and gravy with gravy on the stuffing.
Yep.
And then usually the green bean casserole kind of thing.
Yep.
Then some kind of corn is usually always there. But that's I'm fine with that by itself as a Thanksgiving plate. Turkey for me is, while it's good and it's part of Thanksgiving, it's kind of the afterthought, really.
Since you have a copy of my menu, you'll have to try the creamy garlic cheese corn.
Ooh.
On page 5. But my stuffing, so I know the grocery store by me, just the Jewel Osco, major chain, nothing's fancy. Unless you make your bread yourself, they have a no salt added Swiss bowl. So Boule, it's a type of bread. It's just a round, crusty loaf of bread. Doesn't taste like a whole lot, but it is a great vehicle for stuffing, and they will cut it for you. So I just go to their bakery, I get that, and if I have to and they don't have it, you can pre-order it. Or if you have a bakery in your area because you don't make your own bread, but you just use a crusty Italian style or that crusty bread and have your bakery cut it, and you can have a low sodium. And I get it. It's a little bit more of a fiasco to make that happen, but it's not. I have yet to see unsalted bread for stuffing. You see unseasoned, but then the sodium is still 300 milligrams per serving because the bread itself is not unsalted. That is made for, the croutons that are the bread crumbs. So I have Jewel cut my bread for me. They cut it, and it's just a double cut. They cut the slices, cut it again, makes big chunks for the bread. I leave the bag open in the pantry for an afternoon so it gets crusty and dry. And then I make my stuffing out of that. It's the same as anything else. I use a low sodium stock with garlic, and if I make it, I'll make my sausage.
Usually if Mary Catherine's making stuffing, she'll do a little bit more fancy, but if I'm doing it, it's stovetop.
Oh, yeah. And if I could still eat stovetop, are you kidding me? I'd make that on a daily basis. When I was living on my own 20 years ago in my apartment in Flat Broke, there's many a time because stuffing was cheap.
Oh, yeah.
And it was super filling.
Yeah.
So a stuffing and cheese sandwich.
I didn't even make the cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
A box of stuffing. I was good to go. Stuffing in a bowl. Yay.
Same.
Tasted great. Fantastic. It was filling, and you're good to go.
Right. But yeah, no, on my menu for, because I think we only got a couple minutes here yet.
Yeah, we're already down to a minute and a half.
So,
holy cow.
I've got my turkey. I've got mash, which for me is no salt. Potatoes, garlic, heavy cream, sour cream, and I use some herbs. Or I'll put like a red pepper flake or something in there, Dax original red to give it some spice. I have my stuffing recipe on there. I have my cranberry sauce recipe, which is more like a chutney. My dinner rolls, acorn squash bake, which I love acorn squash. So if you are a sweet potato kind of person, I prefer acorn squash over sweet potatoes. And then the creamy garlic cheese corn, because that stuff is to absolutely die for. It's all on my Facebook page, My LoSo Lifestyle.
Which we were a moment ago.
Yeah,
actually,
it went
maybe
away.
I should just do it. Well, here, we'll do this, and
but that's okay. You can go to my page and you can find it. I posted it up there. I'll probably share it with the station, and they can post it on theirs if they choose. And then, of course, as always, Follow myself and follow the station. If you subscribe to our YouTube channels, the more YouTube subscribers we have, the more luxuries we are afforded. Living Low Sodium by My LoSo Lifestyle and 216thenet.com. Both of us all over the place. And then, of course, next Saturday, we will be here and I'll have more information on our Thanksgiving Day, as well as we have some guests coming up soon.
Yep.
And then we will have a special restaurant episode where I have a few chefs that will be appearing on our show to discuss making low sodium options at their restaurants. So it'll be a good time. We got some good times coming up.
Awesome. Well, tune in again next week. Next week, we're going to be at 10 a.m., right? On a Saturday?
Oh, yes. Yes. Next week, 10 a.m.
10 a.m. on a Saturday. We'll see you then.